He did see it. An upright piano stood against the far wall. Scott's eyes had missed it before because it was in a shadowed corner, nearly invisible in the room's bland light. It was his rosewood Rosencrantz, the piano he had found in the alleyway when he could still stand and walk. The piano he had played for Freddie during her dying days. Scott blinked. Sure, it was a trick of his imagination. One always must be on guard against one's imagination, he remembered. "Did you do this somehow, Freddie?" Scott said. At Bellevue, his last home, he'd been forced to live without a piano within reach for the first time in memory. But here he was in a new place, a worse place, one step closer to oblivion, and his own piano was waiting for him. Another hallucination, then. It wasn't the first, and it wouldn't be his last, or so his doctors said. Every day held another bizarre surprise. But this hallucination was more stubborn than most. Scott flopped his arms against the wheels of his wheelchair, making slow progress across the room, and the piano remained in place. Closer now, and closer again. "I'll be damned," he said, panting from his effort. Scott reached out his trembling hand. Although his wrist dangled, as if it were broken, he was able to press a single key. High G. No hallucination could sound so sweet. The single delicate note awoke the memory of being at Leslie Mae's on Main Street in Sedalia, waiting quietly in the wings while Happy Eddie or Mo the Show clowned on the piano with acrobatic fervor for the hooting crowd. Those boys played like carnival performers, drawing men's purposeful eyes away from bold cleavage and half-empty glasses of whiskey. When it was Scott's turn to play, Leslie Mae always waved at him with her damp pink handkerchief from behind the cash register, her mark of approval. "Go on, Scotty. Teach him, Professor." When he played, the carnival ended. A concert began. "Music's swell. You play?" the sanitarium attendant said to Scott. Scott nodded slowly. He did everything slowly now. "Used to," he said. His voice was a sick old man's, and he wasn't yet 49. He couldn't always remember his age, but the sight of the burnished piano had brightened his mind, brightened every part of him. "Go on ahead and take 5 minutes, then. They say a lady donated it to the hospital in a patient's name. Mind you don't break it." Break it? That was a stupid thing to say. The woman who said it was my wife, you fool. Don't you know who I am? Scott thought. But that was the point, wasn't it? He was the only one who knew. And the occasional ability to forget was the only part of his illness he enjoyed. Lottie had said she'd have a surprise for him when she came to see him this Friday. But she'd never said she was sending the piano after him. God bless Lottie again. But this piano would have followed you whether Lottie sent it or not, Scott thought. And such thoughts didn't disturb him the way they used to. Accepting the state of things had made his days easier. The Rosencrantz would follow him anywhere he went. He had found the Rosencrantz in the alley and wiped it clean with his own hands, and the Rosencrantz wouldn't forget. "I think I will play," Scott said. His tongue was no longer useful, and his words had sounded like, "I think I will play," a mouthful of oatmeal. He hadn't let anybody except Lottie hear him play a piano in 2 years, since that show in D.C. where they had practically pushed him on the stage. What could he have done? Sounded like a little child. That's what he'd heard Eubie Blake said. "Yeah, I'll play." He was excited now. Scott's wheelchair was too low for him to reach the keyboard comfortably, so he hoisted himself into the mismatched chair at the piano's knees, another labor that took his breath. The attendant steadied him, but Scott had moved out of his chair by himself, so he wasn't helpless. For a moment, Scott felt bewildered as he stared at his hands, shivering claws against the keys. His skin didn't smell right either. Urine and talcum and something else buried beneath it all. Something sickly that could only be death. The smell was everywhere here. "Do you know I'm in love with the mother of my best girl?" the attendant said. "I love that one. It's a hoot." Scott nodded, but only to silence him. Anything he played was sure to be unrecognizable. The Rosencrantz was not a forgiving piano. He'd learned that the first night they were reunited. But he would play, if only because Lottie wanted him to. Small solace was better than none at all. Habit took Scott's hands to a natural pose, and his fingers plunged, striking the opening notes. The music plodded like old honey, hugging the bottom of the jar. But he was shocked his fingers remembered how to move at his bidding at all. Maybe I can play a tune or two. Scott's middle finger slipped, curdling the melody with a B natural in the second measure. He cringed, playing on, but his piano didn't offer him any music, only awful, mind-rending noise. "You cold-hearted trickster," Scott thought, remembering the old conjurer from the train who had celebrated the chance to curse him with his fate all those years ago. "Are you and your master happy with what you've reduced me to?" Scott let out a soundless moan, suddenly striking his hand against the keys so hard that the ragged edge of a keytop snagged his pinky, biting into his tender flesh. Droplets of Scott's warm, runny blood marked the piano keys with red fingerprints. Scott was so consumed in pain, most of it in places people couldn't see, that he had no senses left to notice something so trifling as torn skin. "But you don't mind, do you? You know the taste of blood already, don't you, my old friend?" The Rosencrantz had been soiled with blood the day he found it in the alley. If only he had recognized a bad omen when he saw one, he thought. He had been cursed all along. Scott's lips parted to release a moan. His head drooped, suddenly too heavy to carry, and tears splashed from the tip of his nose to the piano keys, seeping between them, turning his blood pink and dampening his useless fingers. If he could choose his time and place to die, he had found it. "Take me, whatever your price, and let my soul rest here," he prayed to anyone who would hear him. Something made Scott look up, interrupting his tears. His tall, lovely girl bride stood beside him, half shrouded in misty light. Freddie had not shown herself to him since his confinement to this wretched place. My God! Could she be an emissary from the hereafter? Was his prayer answered so quickly? "Freddie," he said, peering more closely at his beloved. Freddie's face was always dreamlike to him, in the way his dreams were often spare of details. Scott felt her spirit near him, yet He could not quite see the woman he remembered, hidden in the light.